Welcome to Experts Unleashed, a podcast that aims to uncover how professionals and entrepreneurs transform their experience into income while making a positive impact in the world. I'm your host, Joel Irway, and over the past 4 years, I've helped entrepreneurs develop and launch their expert-based businesses to grow past 6 and 7 figures per year. Now, a professional expert serves their community through paid training, education, or service, and this podcast will show you how to design and execute your plan to become a 6 or 7 figure expert without a big team. So, let's get started. What's going on, experts? It's Joel here with another episode of Experts Unleashed, and today you guys are in for a very, very special treat. Now, I love talking to other entrepreneurs who serve the small business community, and our guest today is Nathan Hirsch, who's an entrepreneur and expert in remote hiring and e-commerce. He's the co-founder and the CEO of FreeUp.com, which is a marketplace that connects businesses with pre-vetted freelancers in e-commerce, digital marketing, and much more. He has sold over $30 million online and regularly appears on leading business podcasts around the world. Nathan and I had an amazing conversation because I'm always fascinated with how I can get more out of my business. And so as I went into the student role today with our guest, I wanted to learn how I could become better at hiring and outsourcing and picking the right team members for my team so I could free up my time, which is ironically the name of his company, FreeUp.com. Now, Nathan and I share a similar backstory. And for those of you who don't know, I also was in the e-commerce space with selling things on Amazon for a brief period of time. And so I understand where he came from. So you're going to love, if you've ever tried to hire remotely and outsource your work, Nathan talks about 3 critical levels of outsourced contractors that you should focus on when you look to hire out your next gig. So without further ado, let's jump into today's episode so you can discover how Nathan was able to transition from his old e-commerce company into what he's doing now, and how he saw this opportunity and was able to seize it by leveraging his own expertise from his previous business. Nathan, man, welcome to the show.
Joel, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm always pumped to talk about specifically what you do with your company right now, because personally, I'm terrible at it, right? I know about a little bit about FreeUp, but let's do a quick introduction. Like, tell my audience who you are, what you currently do in your current business, and then we'll kind of rewind it and talk about the journey.
Yeah, so I'm a longtime e-commerce seller, and through my first business, I got into hiring and remote hiring. And I just always wanted a better way, because you go on the Upworks, the Fivers, you post a job, you get 100 people to apply, you interview them one by one. And as a business owner, no one really has time for that. So I wanted a faster way. And that's why I built FreeUp. We get hundreds of applicants every week, vet them for skill, attitude, communication, taking the top 1%, letting them in, making them available to our clients rapid fire, with 24/7 support on the back end and a no turnover guarantee. If the freelancers quit, we cover replacement costs and make sure they never take a step backwards. So that's really what we're all about.
So what's fascinating with this, because I've hired tons of freelancers in the past, with some success, with mostly failures, right? So in these all these freelance sites like Upwork, Elance, all these these contractor sites, like, why do most entrepreneurs fail when they hire freelancers? What's the biggest problem?
Yeah, the biggest problem is not setting expectations and creating that feedback loop. Because a lot of times you have to understand, these are freelancers, they're business owners, they're not your internal employees. You don't have 100% control over them. At the same time, they're trying to build their portfolio of clients. They're trying to grow their business. And you have to look at it as a business to business relationship. If I go into business with you, I'm not just going to freak out the first time you mess up. I'm not going to try to control every little thing you do. I'm going to try to set expectations up front. I'm going to give and provide feedback on things that you can tweak, because what you do for your other clients might not be the exact same thing that I want for me. And I create that feedback loop where we work together to grow my business. And a lot of people don't do that. They look at these people as someone that they talk down to, someone that just needs to do everything 100% the way they want it right from the beginning, with no feedback. And that's why a lot of people fail.
So I can ashamedly admit that I may be a a perpetrator in demanding too much of my freelancers and my contractors that I hire. So I can totally understand the issues of that. So I know you're super successful in the e-commerce space, right? So like I want to know, like we talked about, why you created FreeUp, but like when somebody hires a freelancer, right? What is one thing that they can focus on that will probably get them like 80% better results, right? We always talk about 80-20. Like, and for me personally, I'm on Upwork. I need this task done. I search for somebody. Great, you look awesome. And I hire them. Like, I hardly do any interviewing skills or any interviewing. Like, how can I take a big step forward and get like 80% better results?
Besides using FreeUp, where we pre-vet them for you, the best thing to do is to split them up into 3 different levels. So that's what I do whenever I look to hire and what I encourage my clients to do. You have basic level freelancers, mid-level freelancers, expert level. The basic level people are followers. They're for clients that have their systems, have their processes in place. If you don't have those, you're going to have a really hard time hiring those $5 to $10 an hour non-US freelancers because they're there to follow your directions. And like I said before, the way one client wants it done might not be the same as another. Then you've got those mid-level people. They're specialists. They do the same thing 10 hours every day, whether it's graphic design, bookkeeping, writing. You're hiring them not to teach them, not to have them consult with you, but to do something at a very high level over and over again and really handle your projects. And then you have the expert level, that 25 and up. And these people are there to consult. They bring something to the table. They can audit your business or parts of your business. They can project manage. They can help create those systems and processes for the basic level freelancer. So a lot of people, they don't have a high budget. So they hire a mid-level person expecting to get that consultation, or they hire a basic level person with no systems, no processes, and then it blows up in their face and they wonder why. So just by identifying what you're actually looking for and figuring out what level for every single role, you'll have a lot more success.
That makes total sense. And how did you come up with that 3-tiered approach, that 3-level approach? Because like just internally, like I just went through a terrible experience with a freelancer that I hired to help set up a membership site, right? Literally, they just pinged me on Facebook because I said I needed this done. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're the first one to respond. So I hired them and it was a terrible experience. But for me now, rethinking it in that 3-tiered approach makes total sense. How did you come up with that? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, so I didn't just wake up one day, hire 40 people, have a lot of success, write a book about it, and create FreeUp. There were a lot of failures along the way. And everything that I preach to the freelancers on best practices, everything that I tell clients on the phone, every blog article I write, it's all based on my past experience. And the best way to learn is by failing. I've had those exact same experiences where I didn't set expectations, where I didn't hire the right level, where I invested time and money and energy into someone and I didn't have it work out. And the thing about me and problem solving is when I problem solve, I gather all the information, I figure out what resources I have, I come up with a game plan, I execute it, but then I do that thing that everyone forgets to do. I put steps in place to prevent that same problem from ever happening again. And hiring is no different. When someone gets into the FreeUp marketplace and they don't deserve to be there, or we made a mistake, we go back to the drawing board. What new questions can we ask? How can we improve the process? How can we prevent it? And we've been doing that same thing on that same interview process for 8 years now, which is why it's just gotten better and better and better. And the same thing on educating clients, because we can provide the pre-vetted freelancer, but if you don't know what to do after that, it doesn't do either of us much good. So all of our content, everything that we teach is all based on personal experience.
Cool, man. So, all right. Makes total sense. Like, so FreeUp is a community, is this market, would you call it a marketplace or is it more a marketplace, right?
Yeah,
That's
marketplace, but it's a community of freelancers. It's pretty cool.
Cool. All right. So community of freelancers, high level freelancers, highly vetted freelancers. So for me, the business owner, when I know, like I could trust you because I know your pool of talent is top notch, the top 1%, which you're not getting anywhere else. Makes total sense. So I want to rewind it now. Like I want to kind of talk about you specifically and take me back to maybe it was in the e-commerce days when you were growing your multi-million-dollar e-commerce empire, e-commerce business, and like how did you start to see like there was a big issue here? Like, take me through the origin story of how we got to where we are today.
Sure. So to put everything in perspective, my parents were both teachers. So I always grew up with the mentality I would get good grades in high school, get into college, get good grades in college, maybe an internship, job, work for 40 years, retire. And that was going to be my life. And I realized early on when I was working these 40-hour week summer jobs, kind of getting a glimpse into what the future is after college, that I didn't want to do that. So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And when I got into college, I had to hustle. I was broke. I needed extra money on the side to do the things that I wanted. So I started off buying textbooks, buying them at the end of the semester, reselling them at the beginning of the next semester. I did a pretty good job marketing to the point where the school bookstore sent me a cease and desist letter because I was taking so much of their business. And books led me to Amazon because this was 2008, 2009. Amazon was just becoming more than a bookstore. No one knew what it was. There were no gurus. There were no courses out there. I was just experimenting. And I experimented away from books into sporting equipment and computers and DVDs. And I just failed over and over and over. The only thing I could sell were books. And it wasn't until I branched out of my comfort zone just from doing nonstop trial and error that I came across baby products. And I realized that moms will pay anything for baby products. So I started listing baby products, and I would spend 8 hours a day listing these products in between classes and everything else that goes on in college. And so the business started to quickly scale. And so it was fun. I was an entrepreneur for the first time. I'm making good money, and this business is growing. And I get to the point where I should probably start paying taxes. And I meet with an accountant, and he goes to me, "So when are you going to hire your first person?" And I shrugged him off. I said, why would I do that? All this money is going into my pocket. No one can do it as well as I can. I don't want to really manage other people or give them anything or teach other people. Like, this is fun. I can do this for 7 days a week for the next 30 years. And he pretty much laughed in my face. And he said, "Okay, kid, you're going to learn this lesson on your own." So the fourth quarter runs around, and I'm not prepared for it. I don't know what fourth quarter is, what busy season is in e-commerce. There really isn't even an e-commerce yet.
Christmas season, holiday season.
Absolutely. And I get destroyed with orders, destroyed with emails. I get angry moms because their Christmas order didn't arrive on time for their party. And I was working 20 hours a day, not sleeping, trying to balance school life, destroying my personal life. And somehow for 8 weeks, I made it through into January. And I thought to myself, okay, I can never let this happen again. So I start hiring, and my first hire, I get really lucky. My business partner, Connor, who's now worked with me for 8 years. And so I think hiring is easy. This is great. Let's just start hiring people. Well, I proceed to make bad hire after bad hire after bad hire, wasting money, time, losing all my hair. And at the end of the day, I just thought there had to be a better way because I was 20, 21, 22. No one was taking me seriously. I couldn't go out and hire some 35-year-old marketing expert. I was pretty much limited to the college kids around me, which hiring college kids is not that reliable for the most part. And so I started to branch off into that remote hiring world, the Upworks, the Fivers, and had some failures as well, but learned how to do it properly over time and built what I called my VA army. And it was awesome. We were rocking. We were crushing it. The business was growing. And I mean, when you're doubling your business every year, you think, okay, you're going to get to $100 million. Well, then the whole e-commerce industry starts to come in, and you get the courses, the gurus. Amazon becomes saturated. We're still doing well, but we're not doubling every year. We're not really growing. And so you also have to remember, we're drop shipping these baby products. I'm not passionate about baby products. They're not mine. At the end of the day, I'm just pushing products to make money. And so a lot of that passion was really lost after doing it when you stop growing and even the business is running. But I love working with these people, and I knew how long it had taken me to actually hire all these good people. I could spend a month to hire one good person. And when I talked to other people in the space, they had that exact same issue. And that's when the idea of FreeUp came around, where I had this Rolodex of e-commerce freelancers. And whenever someone needed, hey, graphic designer, hey, lister, boom, here you go. And people loved that service. They started telling people in other communities. And that's really how FreeUp was born.
So I know a little bit about e-commerce. I had an Amazon business a couple of years ago, drop shipping. Once it takes off, like it can take off like freaking wildfire. Like it's amazing because Amazon, they can send you all the customers in the world. Like literally they can send you just tons and tons of customers. So I can totally relate on this overwhelm of customer service and the whole 9 yards. Tell me about when you hired your current business partner, which is Connor, right? So what did you hire him for, right? So this is after the holiday season, after you had that huge influx, working 20 hours a day for 8 weeks straight. Like, what was his role? Like, what was the need? Like, what did you want to hire him for?
The first thing that he did for me was adjusting prices on Amazon. And if you think of, hey, we had 1,000 products every day for 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, he would go through and he would say, hey, a competitor popped up for 2 cents less. We're going to lower our price 3 cents. And he would click save and he would go to the next product. That's really how it thought. It just really boring, monotonous work. And even when I hired him and I was going to teach him, I said, hey, meet me at my house. And he calls me 30 minutes before he was scheduled. He says, oh, by the way, I don't have a car. Can you come pick me up? So in my mind, I'm thinking, who is this guy? What's happening? But as he started to do it, he took control of this process. He made it better. He was passionate about it. And this was stuff that I thought was the most boring thing in the world. I had hired him for a reason. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And every day when I would drive him home after working, he was just full of questions. He just wanted to know everything about the business. How did I find good products? How did I get into it? What are the plans? How are we going to scale this? Like, how can we make this bigger? And so for the first time, there was someone that was actually passionate about what I was doing, opposed to just wondering what I was doing. Because at the time, there was no such thing as an Amazon seller. People didn't think it was a real job. People thought I was running a scam. There was nothing to back it up on. So he was the first person that showed interest. And so I kept adding on work to his plate until eventually I made him my partner years later.
I didn't assume that you were going to hire him to adjust prices. I assumed that you were going to have him help with customer support and fulfillment, because I'm assuming that's where you got crushed, right?
Yeah. So customer support has always been my baby. I'm a big fan of customer service. I learned so much about it when I worked for the Firestone Corporation. I interned with them for years and took endless amounts of training on it, which gave me a huge competitive advantage, especially in the early days of Amazon, because Amazon wants you to handle returns like you're Amazon. They don't want to have you make excuses to their customers or anything like that. So it took me way too long to get customer service off my plate because I just wanted it done at a very high level. But I still remember the first day I woke up and I didn't have to answer customer service emails. It was just a whole new life beginning.
Yep. So that's interesting. I didn't realize that customer service was your baby. Like, most entrepreneurs that I talk to, they're opportunists, the marketers, and like the last thing that they want to deal with is customer support, right? What about customer support makes you, like, why is that your baby? Like, I know you said you had, the internship and you learned a lot with the Firestone Corporation, but like, why is customer service your baby?
Yeah, I mean, customer service is sales at the end of the day, especially when you get into FreeUp, which I'm dealing with clients all day. So a perfect example, this just happened this morning. Keeping in mind, we bill 12,000 plus hours every week. And the amount of issues that I deal with for billing that many hours is incredibly small. And it's one of the reasons why I can talk to customers all day. But these are real people, and here and there, small things come up. So brand new client comes on FreeUp, needs a graphic design project, really small project, 3 hours. He sends me an email this morning. Hey, like, this didn't come out the way that I wanted. I didn't really budget any more than these 3 hours. I don't want to pay for it twice. Like, I'm kind of hesitant. Like, my first time with FreeUp, within 30 minutes, he gets a response saying, hey, no problem. Sorry you had that experience. I've refunded those 3 hours plus a $25 credit. I've sent you 2 more graphic designers for you to view. Let me know if they're a good fit. Keep me posted. I want to make sure you're taken care of. Boom. That's a customer that you have for life. And I mean, for me, that's the equivalent of sales. It's why I've built a customer service team on FreeUp that's 24/7, that responds instantly, because speed is everything. That doesn't just make things right, that makes things right and then some. Because at the end of the day, you want these long-term relationships, and you want people to know that you actually have their back. You're not just in it to bang them over the head with a hammer, make a quick buck, and move on to the next client. You want to build these relationships, and sometimes you do have to lose money short term to make money long term.
That's amazing, man. I love that. I love those incentives that you give. You turn a potential problem into a lifelong customer. That's awesome. Okay, so let's go back to. I want to go back to the e-commerce, right? I want to dive deep into your experience. Continue down this road of like hiring mistakes, and as you start to grow this e-commerce business, right? And here I am. I'm a not first time entrepreneur, but I'm a solopreneur. I'm starting to get some success in my business. I'm getting some sales, but I'm scared to kind of let go. I'm scared to hire somebody because in my mind, it's just an expense. How do you talk to that type of solopreneur who is scared to make that first hire, even if it's somebody at just $10 an hour, which I can speak from experience. Like back in the day, I was scared to hire somebody at $10 an hour, heck, even $5 an hour, because it's just like, I'm paying them all the time. How would you talk to that person and let them know, like, you have to think about it differently?
Yeah, so I'm a brutally honest person. So I tell them the facts. Right now, the gig economy is booming. It's booming for a reason. There's such a competitive advantage for hiring remote freelancers for endless reasons, from expenses to not having to hire people full time to not competing with all the talent that's in your city with all the other businesses that are around you. There's a lot of reasons. And your competitors are going to take advantage of that gig economy, whether you do or not. And the only way to expand your business is to hire. It's the only way. There are very few $5 million a year solo entrepreneur businesses. They really don't exist. And like anything else in business, there's always a risk. There's nothing I can do to make that risk zero. Even if you hire your best friend at a great rate to sit right next to you every day, there's always a chance they do something stupid or jeopardize your business in some way. With that said, we spend a lot of time vetting the freelancers on FreeUp. We reject 99 out of every 100 applicants we get. I've been hiring for 8 years. I've never had a serious issue. Keeping in mind, no one has a 100% hiring record, but issues can be resolved. And outside of that, we've been doing FreeUp, where we bill 12,000 hours a week, never really had a serious issue. And I'm sure if we bill enough hours, eventually something will happen, but the percentages are much smaller than people think. And it is really the only way forward. And learning how to hire is a skill. It's a skill they don't teach you in school. And it's really the best skill to grow your business, because it's impossible to learn everything. You can't learn how to be a good bookkeeper, a good marketer, a good graphic designer. You have to hire people in order to take your business to the next level.
Okay, so let's talk about now what I'm really interested in is like, great, your Amazon business blew up, did awesome, made a lot of money with that. You get this idea to, is this the point where you got the idea to launch FreeUp, or did anything happen in between your e-commerce business and this current business?
So e-commerce business was at year 5 when I started FreeUp. So we started FreeUp 3 years ago. So yeah, we quickly transitioned into it over. I ran the e-commerce business through the end of last year, transitioned it off to business partner, and now I run FreeUp full time.
So as you start to build FreeUp, right, I want to know, like, how did you practice what you preach, right? So, what was the startup phase with FreeUp, and who were the first people that you really hired to help you build this?
Well, the way that I practice what I preach was we have no employees. It's Connor and I and a group of freelancers. And the only freelancers we hire are people that are on the FreeUp network, the exact same people that are available to our clients. We hire them before they do. And last week, freelancers billed me 800 hours. So I really do practice what I preach. It's all run by freelancers. Our initial clients were Amazon sellers. They were skeptical Amazon sellers that had been burnt in the past by freelancers by using those marketplaces. And I built a relationship. I put my name on the line behind these freelancers. I backed it up. And it wasn't like every single thing went perfect for the first 6 months. There were issues, but like I said before with customer service, hey, you know what? You hired someone, it didn't work out. Here's some credit. Give me a chance. Give me someone else. And I built their relationships with people where they knew they were going to get great talent from me. And if for whatever reason something happened that was totally out of my control that couldn't have been avoided, I was still going to take responsibility for it, make it right, and make sure their business doesn't take a step backwards. And that's really how we got off the ground. And then one of the best business decisions I ever made was putting in a referral program early on where you get 50 cents for every hour that we build a client you bring to us forever. And that program took off. Last year, we paid out over $150,000 in referral money.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Now, there's two sides to this coin, though, right? So there's the client side. So somebody like me who's looking to hire a freelancer through FreeUp, but then there's also the freelancer side, right? So you kind of have to do I'm assuming, right? You have to do two sides of marketing. How do you market this to freelancers so they really just want to stick in that pool? How did that work?
Yeah, there's actually 3 sides. You got the client side, the freelancer side, and you get the software that holds it all together.
Right.
The freelancers, so I had this pool of freelancers that I've been working with over 5 years. So we started with that, and I obviously had them tell their friends. Same thing, put a referral program in place so they make money for every hour the freelancers bill forever. And very similar to how once we started promoting FreeUp, the podcast, the webinars, the connecting with Facebook group owners, that's really where we got off the ground. In terms of being a differentiator, we knew early on that we had to create a platform that freelancers really wanted to be there, because think about how many Upworks and Fivers there are, not to mention VA companies and services. There's endless amounts of places that people can offer their business. Why come to us? So what we realized was people didn't actually want to be on those other places. They were there because the clients were there. And the second they had the opportunity to get off those places, they would. So with us, instead of making a competition where every single time a freelancer wants a project, they're competing against 50 people, we made it more of a collaboration. So that's where that community comes in. These freelancers love being here because they get to connect with other like-minded people that all help each other grow their freelance business. That same great customer service and support that we offer on the client side, same thing on the freelancer side. They get immediate access. They can contact me whenever they need something and my team. We help them grow their freelance business. We help them resolve issues in a fair way. We treat them well. We protect them if their clients don't pay, all that stuff, while keeping in mind that we have to continue to keep them happy. So we create a culture and environment where we want feedback. We want ideas. We want people to continue to tell us, how can we make this better for the freelancers? And we're constantly putting new things in place to make sure they continue to be happy.
What do you think is more important, keeping the freelancers happy or keeping your customers happy?
To me, it's dead even. The marketplace collapses if we start to focus on either side too much. And I think the freelancers know that and really appreciate it. And hopefully the clients do too. But we try to, I actually got asked this question. I went to the Philippines and we did a Q&A where we threw an event. A lot of the freelancers of the marketplace were there and they could ask us anything. And they asked, do you think you're more biased for the client side or the freelancer side when you're resolving an issue? And I said, now my mentality is always, the client isn't necessarily right, but it's in my best interest to keep the client happy and continue that relationship. So sometimes I'll even concede and try to make them both happy, even if I lose a little bit of money. Then there's other times where we have best practices in place. And if the freelancer didn't follow those best practices, we expect them to take responsibility and make it right. And we all move on and continue doing business together. And if they don't, I'm going to make it right anyway, but I don't have to give them any more clients after that. So it is very balanced, but we do obviously try to continue to make clients happy regardless what happens on the freelancer side.
That's amazing, man. So tell me about where you see this marketplace going. Where do you see not just FreeUp, but you said the gig economy, right? So for those listening right now, don't know what the gig economy is. I'll do my best. Well, no. Why don't you explain, just give a quick definition of what you mean by the gig economy?
Yeah, the remote workforce, the people that are in business for themselves. I mean, the old school method of employment was you had one employer, you worked for them for a long time, hopefully continue to get raises and all that. Where the new way is, hey, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket with one employer that can fire me. Let's get a lot of different clients. Let's grow an actual business. Let's market myself and have my own website and create packages and services and even build my team. We have freelancers that have their own VAs, their own mini agency. So that's the gig economy. It's booming. Over the next 10 years, over 50% of the workforce is going to be remote. It's crazy, 50%. So if you're not taking advantage of it, you really have to, and it's only going to get bigger. As for where FreeUp's going, I'm incredibly excited, but I am a short-term thinker. Connor is a long-term guy. I am very focused on what's happening this week, this month. I tend to not look at 3 years in the future because I'm a constant pivoter. I'm constantly trying to change what's happening, reading the market, getting feedback. So I always suck at answering those questions, but that's really what I'm focused on, and I'm excited for the gig economy's future.
Cool, man. Can you think about one specific situation where a bad hire really, really hurt, right? Where maybe you thought that it was a good hire and then it just didn't go as planned. I mean, does any one situation stick out to you?
Yeah. So back when this was probably year 1.5 of the e-commerce business, and Connor and I are booming. We have so much to do. We've got orders, we've got listings, we've got emails. I'm not sleeping well at night. There's just so much going on. And I decide, okay, let's hire this manager of the day, someone who can just do everything, who can handle it. You and I will focus on growth. They'll focus on day-to-day operations. It'll be great. So we do a lot of interviews. We hire this one person. We teach him to do everything. It's 6 months of training, orders, customer service, listing, pricing, everything. And we also put all our eggs in one basket with this one supplier that we were just crushing it with. So all these other suppliers we didn't really focus on. We just wanted to sell this guy's product because they were very profitable, easy to sell. So we get to this point. This guy is trained. He's ready to go. I'm sleeping better. I'm not having to answer emails. I'm focused on big picture stuff. And we decide to take our first vacation. Let's celebrate. Business is doing well. I'm 21, making more money than I should, and let's go. So we go to Myrtle Beach. And on the first day of the first trip, I get 3 phone calls. On the first day of the trip, I get 3 phone calls. The first from that manufacturer telling me that he didn't want to work with me anymore. The second from this guy that I just put 6 months into training, telling me that his parents wanted him to focus on school and that he couldn't work for me anymore. So all that training is down the drain. And then just to top it off, I get a call from my bookkeeper saying someone had filed a false tax return in my name, stolen my identity, and I was going to have to deal with that whole mess when I got back.
Oh, God.
So I went from this unbelievable high entrepreneur, I made it, 21, I'm going to end college being an entrepreneur, to boom, let's just start this whole thing over again and figure out what we learned and how to never make that mistake again. So
was it the same bookkeeper that you talked about earlier that said you needed to hire people?
It actually wasn't. I ended up getting rid of that guy for different reasons. But same accountant I have now who's awesome. But yeah, I mean, and what did we learn? Diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread yourself out, departmentalize, whether it's your revenue streams, your people, your stock portfolio, everything.
Okay, so how would you do that differently? So, okay, in my mind, like diversify people. I'm assuming you mean don't have one person be responsible for everything, because if he or she leaves, you're screwed, right?
Yeah, I see that all the time, because entrepreneurs, what happens is you have a bunch of bad hires, right? And then you finally get that one person you really like, you trust them, you build that relationship. So you just load them up with everything and take everything off your plate. And then that person gets sick, gets pregnant, quits, whatever it is. And that can set your business back months. It did for us. So the better way to go about it is to hire one person for customer service. And let's say you have a lot of customer service. Don't even hire one person for 50 hours a week. Hire 2 people for 25 so they can cover for each other. And if that person quits, you don't just have to jump into customer service until you get someone involved. But really divide everything up and come up with training for that specific thing so that if someone quits, you can replace them in a week or 2, hopefully less, rather than having you spend 4 months to get right back where your business was originally.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice. And unfortunately, it's got, like, for me, I don't know if I would be able to do it. Like, I would have to be convinced, because like I'm not a manager. Like, that's the biggest issue that I run in personally, is that I'm an entrepreneur. I don't really want to run a big team. Like, my ideal situation is I hire somebody to do a task or a project, and I just like I don't want to train because I'm not a trainer. Like, I have my own specific agenda. Like, I want to grow the business, but I've got lots of people who are saying, gotta hire, you gotta hire, gotta hire. How would you talk to a potential customer who's kind of in that stage right now? Because I feel like a lot of my listeners are probably in that stage too, where they've got a business and they're doing great, but they're the sole person, but they have a hard time of letting go. Like, what would you tell that?
Yeah, so we talked about the different levels. I would focus more on those mid and expert level people. And a lot of times those mid and expert level can help transition into the lower level eventually, or they might have their own assistants that are already working underneath them, so you don't have to manage those people. The other side of it, again, I was a 21-year-old entrepreneur that had no idea what I was doing. I didn't just wake up one day and learn how to manage people. It's a good skill to learn that you only get by actually doing it. And I would argue that your business will accomplish more and be more successful and grow if you focus on perfecting that management leadership skill. And again, what's the point of being an entrepreneur if you don't do what you want to do, right? So I kind of take the position, who am I to tell you what to do or how to run your business? At the same time, I think it's going to be very hard for you to scale long-term to get to whatever your goals are if you aren't able to add those lower level people to your team, because they just are valuable, just like eventually adding those higher level people is also valuable.
So I want to make sure I understood this properly. Did you recommend to hire, start with the higher level person first as one of your first hires, or start lower?
I don't know enough about your business to answer that question.
Not just me personally, but just talking to in generalities. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer. Again, it depends where you are. If you're at the point of your business where you don't know what direction to go to, you don't have these systems and processes, you don't know how to create these systems and processes, hire an expert to come in and do it. If you're more of someone who, hey, I want to become a manager, I want to have a lower level VA team that can take these day-to-day stuff off my plate, my advice would be to do it. Put in a worker request on FreeUp or whatever you use. meet with some people, interview them, try them out for test hours, get feedback from them on how you can improve as a business owner and continue to improve. And within a few months, you're going to figure it out. There are other entrepreneurs that have struggled that have figured it out, but there's no necessarily right or wrong way to go about it. It just depends on what the best strategy is for your business.
Cool. I love it, man. I mean, I think that 3-level approach is really, really powerful of just how you view the different types of talent out there, right? Being able to self-identify how important this task is to outsource, how important this task is to your business. And if you need somebody to bring more to the table, if you're really looking for higher level strategy and less kind of like implementation, okay, maybe that's a higher level, that's the top tier. Or if you're just looking for routine, mundane tasks, obviously that's the lower level tier. I think that's brilliant in order to just visualize what you truly want, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed when you go to one of these sites and you see, ranges from $5 an hour to probably $200 an hour. It's like, and everywhere in between. Like, what are those key price points and what are those key levels of what you expect? I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, then you get people who will hire someone for $7 an hour and have that person give them advice on how to market their business, and the advice doesn't work, and then they wonder why.
Right. Yeah, just managing realistic expectations. It's super, super important. Well, Nathan, man, we talked about a ton of stuff. Like, I love your story. I love, number one, I have a little bit of an e-commerce background, so I completely understand where you're coming from with drop shipping and the headaches. And so it's fascinating to learn about the journey of how FreeUp came about and how you relate your e-commerce background and saying, okay, there's a huge need to hire quality people, reliable people. And when you started FreeUp, you started marketing to your existing kind of like network. I mean, your e-commerce friends, like, because you knew they had the same problem that you did. And that's a brilliant way to validate an idea and just get your first X number of customers. So I think it's extremely intelligent, extremely smart, which many people overlook in terms of monetizing their expertise. And then you took that, you've grown FreeUp to be this community of freelancers, which I think is fascinating too, because that sets a huge precedent for the quality and the caliber of people that come into your community and your network, which makes it more appealing for somebody like me or another entrepreneur that is looking to build their team of freelancers. And I just love where you're going with this whole gig economy, and I think that it's only going up from here.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think it's booming. I appreciate you having me. It's a lot of fun. I love just talking about hiring in general. Love helping people, and anyone that signs up using FreeUp, go to FreeUp with 3 E's. You get a free $50 credit added to your account. My calendar is right at the top. Book a time with me, free of charge. We're happy to talk to you about your business and how I can help.
Yep. So that's FreeUp with 3 E's. So FreeUp3Es.com. Nathan, man, is there anything that we left out that in your story that you wanted to make sure that we talked about before we hop off?
No, I just want to encourage everyone to try it out. You don't have to go in and hire a 40-hour-a-week VA from me or from anywhere. You can start off small, you can learn, you can grow. And I've seen people that have grown huge businesses that came in as solo entrepreneurs that had no idea what they were doing, that had made bad hiring mistakes. I've just seen it with hundreds of clients. So I know that people listening out there are no different, and I know they can do it, and I'm here to help.
Awesome, man. Nathan, I appreciate you hopping on Experts Unleashed. And for those who are listening right now, please go hit up Nathan. Where can they connect with you? Is the only spot on freeup.com, or are there any other ways to connect?
If you go to our FreeUp blog, you can check that out. Our FreeUp YouTube channel, we post a lot of great content. And we also have a Facebook group, the Online Hiring Mastermind, where we post a lot of great tips to help people.
Awesome, man. So if you listen to this episode, please go hit up Nathan. Let him know you heard him on Experts Unleashed. This was an amazing conversation. It doesn't get talked about enough in terms of hiring and leveraging the gig economy. Super powerful for anybody just to kind of get that freedom from their business. So Nathan, I appreciate you, man. And for everyone else, let's wrap up this episode. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. Now, if you want additional trainings and content outside of the podcast, I release exclusive video trainings on my Experts Unleashed YouTube channel. And if you'd like to come hang out with thousands of other fellow experts, join our Facebook group community where we do hangouts and webinars to help support you in your journey. Finally, if you'd like my personal help to develop, launch, or scale your business, contact me directly for private consulting opportunities to see if any spots are available. And you can find all of the information above at expertsunleashed.com.